I used to sell organs on the dark web. No, I'm not a murderer. I work at a funeral home as its sole undertaker and owner. It's the only funeral home in this small town I live in, so I was pretty much the only choice for the families of the deceased to go. I wasn't always the only worker here, though. The funeral home's a family business, so my father was the one who taught me the ins and outs of the trade as soon as I was old enough to. I tried to get out of it by going to medical school after university. I did pretty well for the 3 years that I was there, before I was forced to return to my hometown. My father had passed away from a sudden heart attack back home. He passed the funeral home down to me in his will. He also requested that I be the one to prepare his body for his funeral. Having to embalm his body was the single hardest thing I had to do, but I did it anyway because that's what he wanted. It was clear that the family business meant a lot to my father. The locals needed it too. If they wanted a proper ceremony without having to drive miles to the next closest funeral home. Knowing that, I just couldn't abandon it anymore. It's not like I was going to be able to pay off the student loan now that my father isn't around to help support me either. I had no choice. Either work normally as an undertaker and keep paying my student loans until it was my turn to be put in the ground, or find a little hustle on the side that might let me pay it off before I retire. The choice was pretty obvious in my mind. The experience I got from medical school helped me carefully extract the organs from every corpse that found their way to my embalming table. The suits and dresses cover up the scars, and a little bit of stuffing where the organs used to be kept them from looking deflated. Honestly, it wasn't too different from regular embalming. Their loved ones were none the wiser at their funerals. They often thanked me for making their families look alive one last time, not knowing that I had their organs stashed in a freezer in the back of the funeral home. For as much effort as we undertakers put into making bodies look pretty, our living clients tend to not look at them very closely in the end. So hey, what they don't know won't hurt them, right? It's not like the corpses themselves can object to whatever I do to them either, since they're, dead. Considering some of the gruesome stuff regular embalming entails, undertakers wouldn't exist if they could. Now, before any of you judge me for what I did, know this. As someone who knows doctors and wanted to become one in the past, the organs that people bury and burn every day are worth more than their weight in gold. There are people in hospitals waiting for life-saving organ transplants, and while their own time is running out, those whose time had already passed are taking their invaluable organs with them into the ground, where they have no use for it. To me, burying something as precious as organs that could potentially keep more people from dying is just absurd. It's one of the reasons why I was so against inheriting the funeral home business in the first place, even more so than the morbid nature of the profession. That's not to say that I'm some sort of saint for thinking that way, though. After all, I was mainly selling organs to make money, not save lives. No legitimate doctor I knew would ever try to find organs for their patients through the dark web anyways. I try my best to not ask what my customers intend to do with the organs I provide to them. That used to be the case with one of my most frequent recurring customers. For the sake of the story, let's call him Henry. I met Henry when I was just starting out my organ-selling business on the dark web. I had my own little website on the dark web where I could conduct my business. Every time I extracted an organ from a corpse, I would list it on my website with a starting price that people could bid on. Once an organ was sold and paid for with Bitcoin, I'd drive to a secluded spot near the buyer's address, place down a container with the organs inside, and send the coordinates to the buyer before getting the hell out of Dodge. Henry was always a high bidder, and I very quickly got used to seeing his username on my dark website, offering exorbitant amounts of money for any organ I listed. He almost always won the bid, too. I don't know where the hell he got all the money to be spending on these organs, and I didn't care. I just wanted the money. One day, I had a complete set of organs up on sale on my dark website. Hearts, lungs, kidneys, you name it. The person I got them from had died from hypothermia. Apparently, he got drunk off his mind and spent the night asleep on the street where he froze to death. Terribly tragic incident. But it gave me the rare chance to harvest a full set of undamaged organs. Plus, him dying from the cold meant they were all still remarkably preserved by the time he reached my embalming table. Where though? Harry won the bid for several of the organs within just one day. I was able to make a crap ton of money, but I also had to haul a heavy icebox with a heart, a pair of lungs, 2 kidneys, and one nasty-ass liver across the state to the city he was in. I was really tired that day. Extracting that many organs without damaging them and stitching the body back up isn't that easy. That, coupled with the fact that I'd delivered organs to Harry about a dozen times before, made me complacent. I didn't notice the black car that was tailing me from behind until I was already in a secluded part of the city. When I noticed the car in my rear-view mirror, I felt my pulse start to race. I've always been afraid that something like this would happen. I thought that the police might have finally caught on to what I've been doing, but before I panicked, I calmed myself down.
الان فکر کنم یا پلیس اینو میگیره یا هم هنریه میخواد اینو اذیت کنه دیگه.
I pulled my car to the side of the road under the pretense of checking my phone, hoping that they were just a regular car that'll just drive past. Instead, my heart leapt into my throat when the car pulled up beside me. This is it, I thought. They were the cops and are going to arrest me for selling organs on the dark web. But instead of arresting me on sight, the person in the black car rolled down their window. Inside was an average-looking man in a white dress shirt. I kept my window shut, still pretending to be on the phone, when I got a text message on it. It was from Henry, and it simply read, "Look beside you." I realized that the person beside me was my buyer. I was relieved that it wasn't the police, but I didn't want to show my face to a guy who buys organs on the deep web either. I made no move to open the door or roll down the window. I just texted him back asking if he was the guy in the car beside me. He confirmed my suspicion and told me to roll down the window so that we could talk. I didn't budge. I just told him that we can discuss whatever he wants to discuss through text. I also asked him how the hell he knew where I was in the first place. I could hear him chuckle in his car when he read my message, and texted back that he had his ways.
I
can only assume that he must be tracing me by my phone somehow. He asked me how I got my organs, to which I replied that it was none of his concern. I saw him frown through the car's open window. Then he asked me if he could be there when I acquire the organs. I asked him why the hell he'd want that. His response remains with me to this day. He texted me that he always wanted to try making sashimi, and that the meat needed to be extra fresh for that. I realized with horror that all this time he'd been buying the organs I sold to eat them. When I looked at him again through the closed car window, he was smiling in my direction with a toothy grin and wide, crazed eyes. I hit the gas and got the hell out of there as soon as possible. I also broke my phone and tossed its remains into a garbage can as soon as I could. Deep down, I always knew that it was possible that my customers could be eating the organs I gave them. There are a lot of sick people on the dark web. But there's a difference between knowing there are cannibals out there and coming face to face with